I've just finished reading Rest by Alex Soojung-Kim, and it was great. So I thought I'd share my take-home points from it so you can either read it or just absorb the knowledge from this video. It's worth mentioning that I came across this book after reading Meditations for Mortals by Oliver Burkeman, which I absolutely loved and have already reviewed on my YouTube channel. But there was a chapter that really struck a chord with me called 4 Hours. The reason being that since I've been working more for myself, one of the things I've noticed is just because I have 8 hours to work for myself, it doesn't mean I can get 8 hours of work out of myself consistently. And this chapter made me appreciate that it's not just me, and that actually in history, a lot of people who've done great work got there by working consistently for 3 to 4 hours a day, because actually that's probably when we're at our best. So on the strength of that brilliant revelation, I thought the whole book was worth a read. What I didn't necessarily expect was it to be as valuable as it turned out to be for my day job as a doctor in the NHS, because invariably we see loads of people who have neglected rest and end up burnt out, depressed, having a breakdown and need to be signed off. This book really helps understand why that happens. He opens up by pointing out that in modern society, rest is treated like a little bit of an inconvenience as opposed to a necessity, and that instead of viewing it as work's opposite, we should be seeing it as a partner to doing good work. This partnership is one of the first insights that he highlights into rest. The second is that rest is often active, even when we don't feel like we're doing very much. There's a hell of a lot going on in your brain. Rest is also a skill that needs to be practiced, and that deliberate rest stimulates creativity. There is a short explanation about the neuroscience of what's going on in your brain when you're resting, and this comes under the stimulating creativity. And then there are a number of sections that get their own chapters that constitute the building blocks of sustaining creativity. For example, morning routines, no shortage of YouTube videos there. Taking walks, taking naps, stopping. This one was really interesting because he makes the case that a technique for stimulating creativity is to stop deliberately when you're in the flow of things, and it makes it much easier to come back to the same activity the next day. I have tried this and I can safely say it seems to work pretty well. And then there is a very important chapter on sleep. But as you know, there's whole books and podcasts and films about sleep and its value. Then the book starts to talk about recovery, which is where my doctor mode seemed to kick in. And recovery has 4 main components: relaxation, control, the ability to have control over what you're doing in that time. Something he defines as mastery of experiences, so being able to do things that you have mastered. And then finally, mental distance from work, which is why sometimes you just have to be away from the place. Recovery also encompasses exercise. The best form of recovery is active. And there's also a chapter on deep play, things such as painting, climbing gets a lot of attention, sailing. So things that need you to focus, but in a very different way, and sometimes with overlapping skills from things that you're good at in work. And then the last bit is about sabbaticals, and there's some examples of people who've been able to recover very well by immersing themselves in different countries and different cultures for a period of time. But the overarching message that I've taken away from this book is that rest doesn't just magically appear. And I'll quote the author in saying, you have to recognise its importance, claim your right to it, carve out and defend space for it, and in return, it will cultivate calm, give you back more time, and help you do better work. So, all in all, a good read. I learned a lot.